the light bulb. Hey, everybody. Oh my gosh, like my heart is beating so fast. Good evening, everyone.
Ooh, someone's got something in the background going.
My heart is beating so fast. Good evening, everyone. Is that me?
Ooh, someone's got something in the background going.
All right. Is that better?
No, you're good.
Okay. All right. So, hey, let's try again. Welcome to episode 16. If it doesn't mess up, it's not an episode of the Game Changers. What can we say? So here we are. It is episode 16. I need to say that again because that is a pretty big number. That's 4 months. 4 months worth of episodes. Okay. I can't believe it. To have this, sports affiliation, give us this wonderful platform. We know the fantasy football season's over, and I mean, there's still a lot of, playoff game or playoff balls and stuff like that, best balls and all that. But you know what? There's so much more that the sports affiliation has to offer. And for us to come on here and, hey, Carla, we have the bosses are here tonight. Okay. All the bosses are here. So everyone look busy. Okay. Well, I'm booking guests. Look at me. I'm booking guests. Hang on. I'm writing content. That's me.
Ooh.
I'm writing content. Right.
Y'all are booked way out.
I don't even know what it means. But anyways, so if you guys have not done so, please hop out of the video, like us, subscribe, make sure that you're following TSA. We're just so lucky. So we don't want to get fired either. So, make sure you guys all do that stuff. So anyways, Carla, would you please introduce these fine people that are waiting?
Of course. How's everyone tonight? Happy New Year and welcome back.
Happy New Year.
Wendi and I are super excited for tonight's show, as we will get to know more about why the sports affiliation started and how. Iggy, founder of Fantasy Football Sevens and co-founder of the Sports Affiliation, you are involved in so many sports and bettings, married to Christina, she's next to you, and dad of 2 beautiful children. Christina, wife, mom, fantasy sports enthusiast, nature lover, and more. You're always behind the scenes helping out with the sports affiliation webpage. And now I have a chance to put a face behind the camera.
Yes, finally.
We have Evan, or the name SoCal, as everyone knows online. As well, we know him on social media. He's as well a co-founder of the Sports Affiliation, all things betting and fantasy, a dad of 4 beautiful children, and he enjoys the outdoors. And then last but not least, our last family member, honestly, the one and only JC. He's one of the co-founders as well, and he have a great story under his belt to tell later. He is a host himself, a freelance graphic designer, and USAF vet, and more. I really can't wait to see where this episode will lead. How about you, Wendi?
Oh, it's a lot. There is a lot going on. We are not used to having so many guests, and we are so overwhelmed, but in a good way. And Christina, I kind of do want to start with you. I know your time is super valuable. I think Evan even called you Supermom earlier or something, and I'm just like, yeah, I could see that. So I do want to start with that. I read a little bit of your bio, and so you're from San Antonio. I just visited there.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I was just there like in October. Yeah, I loved it there. You know what? It had not rained in Texas for 3 months, and it rained every goddamn day we were there. So you're welcome, Texas.
I love your kids.
Yep. Yeah. So mom, is definitely the role that we play. I play most of the time. So here are the littles.
Yeah, we're so glad you're here.
To visit home. When I think of home, it's mostly about food, and like that's what I miss is And seeing the Spurs anytime I get to go to the stadium back home is awesome too.
Yeah, wasn't your family like a season ticket holders or something like that?
Yes, we were. And then I also went to Catholic school, and it's funny because that's kind of like they incentivized us kids, and they would give us free tickets to go see the Spurs game when we were little, and they were always nosebleeds, but getting to go with like 10 of your friends and being at the very top, like it was like having the time of your life, you know?
Oh yeah, living the dream.
I remember when Tim Duncan, when we drafted him, and we had a life-size like poster of him in the hallway, and like, everyone was just so excited to have Tim Duncan. And now we got Wemby. It's like we've just been, blessed with.
What is the deal with that guy? He's not a human, is he?
Superhuman, it seems. But yeah, I'm excited to have him.
Man, that was just crazy. So I did not realize like you were into fantasy basketball longer than you've been doing anything in fantasy football.
Yes, because my interest is more so in basketball. I play fantasy football because it's on TV all the time.
Yeah.
And I really don't know anything about the players. I'm a stats nerd completely.
I like it. So how does I'm not familiar with fantasy basketball at all. So is that something, is it like season long? Is it DFS every day type thing? Do you draft players? I don't understand how that works.
So you do draft, and it is every day. And that's kind of like, it's cool, but it's really time consuming in that sense.
Yeah, like how do you do it? I mean, you're running a business, you're running a family, and then you just manage to get your sports betting in too, don't you?
That's Iggy, more so sports betting. I haven't had as much luck. I was excited the first year, and then I lost money, and I was like, I'm going to let him do that.
Well, the funniest thing is kind of how you guys met. Were you on a river somewhere floating and you ran into each other?
Yeah.
Literally.
Literally, our groups collided on the river. So it was just like fate. But we were friends for years before we started dating.
Okay.
So it's a cool meet story,
Oh yeah, and now you have a family, and that is just freaking awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the other things I wanted to ask you about was, I know you are very serious with your children and your crafts, and because you have other things to do besides all of this stuff. So, what do you guys like to do in your actual free time, if you have any?
Stuff with the kids. Everything is basically revolves around the kids. But we live in Durango, and it's a really amazing place to live and raise a family. So, I mean, there's hiking all around us. We live, really close to the national forest. Sledding, we did
that's so cool
for fun. And then we're also river rats still. That still hasn't really gone away.
So everything's within a pretty close proximity to your home, right? You do all these events?
About 5
Okay,
miles.
like I live in Indiana, okay? We don't have that stuff going on, okay? So I have to drive a long way to go do any of that.
Go out for a good time.
So, I tried to go out on New Year's Eve, got all dressed up, to the nines, walked out the door, it was a blizzard. We hadn't had snow all year. The night I took an hour and a half to get ready, walked out the door, went back and got on the couch and watched TV. It was terrible. She's back. Well, one other thing, like I said, I know you have to go, but I visited Colorado one time. It is so beautiful out there. And we went to a town called Central City. Are you familiar with that?
I think it's over by the Front Range. Yeah.
And we panned for gold in the river and stuff. And that's just a memory I'll never forget. And you're raising your family, doing those things daily. How cool is that?
Yeah, there's definitely fun stuff all around.
Not as cool as that thing, whatever that. What's that thing's name?
Town puppies. More babies in the town.
I dig the purple hair. I like it.
Yeah. People paying.
Welcome back, Carla. What do you got for our guest over here. I want you to hop in.
Christina, are you interested in coming on with the women of fantasy football?
Yeah. I can.
Yeah,
fun.
you on board.
That's really great.
I think we have another one like in a couple weeks, so I can make sure that Tootsie Pop gets you a little link so you can come and talk with us. We have so much fun.
You can touch, so that'd be great.
Yeah, it's really a great time. So, but yeah, so like I said, when I was in Colorado, it was 45 years ago, so that was a long time ago. But are you guys close to Red Rocks?
No.
Yeah, we're like 5 hours from Denver. Still, so.
Oh, okay.
We're like on the other side of the state.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So Iggy, that brings me to you because I wanted to know, like, what is the deal with the Zamboni? Did you actually really drive a Zamboni?
Yeah, for the city, one of my many jobs is a microphone. I drive a Zamboni. We just got a brand called Affiliation, and it's all electric, so it's a little different procedure and how it operates. Learning that one, but I drove the Zamboni for 3 years. It's pretty cool, it's basically just a tractor, but it's like really glorified, and people kind of like you. There's always like people looking at you after like net skating, so like watch it. So it's kind of cool.
Where is what place do you work at? Where do you do this at?
It's a place called Chapman Hill, and there's an ice rink there, and we live in Durango, and it's all owned by the city. There's a pretty good like recreation tax on the city because people here prioritize it so much. So like our rec center has like like an Olympic sized pool and then like a kids all enclosed. It's all through the city, so it's not like privatized. It like makes it affordable for people. So we get a lot of like skiers and a lot of hockey leagues and figure skaters, and it's all relatively affordable right there at the city. So pretty cool.
Very nice. I'm jealous. I'm gonna go look at my cornfield. I'll be back in a minute.
The cornfields aren't too far.
So who came with the sports affiliation idea?
I mean, I guess it was kind of all of us. I mean, we can kind of get into that if you want to. So, I mean, Evan kind of came in a little bit later, but Iggy and I kind of met like through some work that we were doing with some other guy. Like, oh man, was it like 2019, like 2018, 19? I know I started about 2018. I think we kind of met in like 2019. I was doing graphics and podcasting with somebody, and then Iggy was coming on and doing some betting and stuff like that. It was like once a week or twice a week, and that's how we met TD as well. So I mean, we kind of all met through there, and then Iggy and I kind of met at the 2022 Fantasy Football Expo, and then that's kind of where we were like, all right, we should kind of like start doing some like podcasting or something, on Twitter, and then we kind of started doing that. And what was our name again? What do we call ourselves again, Iggy? Before that, it was the FFIQ crew, right?
Yeah, the FFIQ.
The FFIQ, the Fantasy Football Advice. Yeah, it was a fun little thing. Coach was part of that, and then we went to another brand. Iggy and I was working with another brand, and it was like betting and fantasy football, and then that's kind of how we met Evan. Evan kind of came on, and he was kind of talking. He kind of joined in one of our like podcasts that we were doing. And then, we kind of all just like, clicked, and like a lot of shows kind of came out of that. And then from there, we kind of went off and did our own thing. We're like, hey, let's build a brand, like there's been a lot of like negativity. There's been a lot of bullying. There's a lot of just nonsense. And we're just like, you know what, we need to get away from that. We're going to build something, that can be inclusive for everybody and, like in a positive environment. And it's just been really good. And I feel like that's how we've been able to attract a lot of great human beings, like yourselves and, and Evan, like Iggy and I, like Evan just like right to us. And like from there, it's just been amazing. I mean, y'all can kind of talk about it a little bit, but that's kind of how we started.
Yeah. So I mean, when those two guys, when JC and Iggy met, each other and were doing their thing, I didn't even know. I mean, I knew what Twitter was, but I was not a Twitter person at all. I wish I was sooner, but everything happens when it happens. And I went on in FFIQ space, and these guys were talking, and I decided to, just kind of raise my hand in the space and talk. And pretty much after that, we just kind of worked for this other company for a while, and we were doing a lot of stuff there. And we just decided, hey, we're doing all this. We might as well, like JC said, separate ourselves, do it on our own, make it the way the community we want it to be, as positive as possible. Like that's what it's about for us is, uplifting other people, man. Like, I mean, my pinned tweet is, bringing people together, through sports in a positive way. And we couldn't really do that, but we were able to all get together in this previous place and transfer everything we got from there. And I think we can all say that we're grateful what we learned on Twitter, what we learned from people there and spaces and shows. Mm-hmm. And it was like time for us to kind of spread our wings. And so we did that. And, it's been great. I mean, I took a little kind of hiatus from about May to September for some personal stuff. And these guys went to the expo this year and really just took off and, met, wonderful people like you two, Carla and Wendi, and things have, really blown up and it's great. So I'm sure Iggy can add on to that a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much just what they said, and then, met Carla actually at the 22 Expo too with Doug at the panel, and then with the TSA specifically 2023, realizing that people wanted to work with us and wanted to network with us, and running into Greg I think was a pretty big aspect of it as well, because then we got somebody that has the experience. I mean, it's going to be hard to find somebody with more experience in this industry than Greg, and I just think that was part of it. And, it extended outside of the previous places we've worked. We all learned from places that we were working with and helping build up a startup and a new concept, which was pretty interesting. But like I said, for me, once you go to the expo, you just realize it's all about love, for lack of better words. It's about being friendly. And it's just such it's an exalting feeling being around people that are into what they're into and are almost all genuine people, at least
that was like probably literally one of the best weekends of my entire life. I mean, from the moment I walked in, and I was shaking when I got there. I was literally shaking walking into that party thing at the park or whatever. And one of the first people I saw was JC. And he was one of the people that I was not leaving until I met JC too. So it worked out well that I ran into him fairly early, and I could just tell you guys had something good going. It's like the whole positivity and the inclusiveness, and you don't treat anybody like hey, they're a star and they're not. Everybody's kind of equal. And immediately, felt at home. So I'm hoping, like, Christina, is that something you think you'd ever be able to do, is attend the expo?
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah?
Yeah. We would love to take the kids as a whole family. That's the goal.
I'm telling you, there were people there with families last year that had kids there. I mean, it was great. I was like, whoa. So, but the thing I would want to know, Christina, is what happened? Like, did Iggy come home one day and say, hey, I got to talk to you about something? We're going to do this sports affiliation, and it's going to take up a lot of my time and your time. So how did you feel about it when this all started?
Well, actually, I was kind of with the crew already. I was with SoCal and JC. We were all working for the previous company together. And I was doing administrative work. And there was a good thing there, but there wasn't a lot of positivity. And I think that's where we all just kind of started feeling like we had something and we knew we could really make something great if we just kept our positivity. We really were like the positive crew, and it just really flowed nicely. At least at the very least, we knew we wanted to just keep supporting each other.
Yeah. And all of the groups that you guys have little chats and stuff, everybody's so supportive of each other and, posting links and sharing and commenting and, just being supportive of everyone in the community. So yeah, that's awesome. I hope you get to come and I haven't got to meet Carla in person yet either. So I know.
I always thought y'all met at the expo this previous
No, we saw each other in passing. I knew who she was because I knew who Doug Orth was, but this didn't happen. This happened because we ran into Greg frickin' Kellogg, and he's the one that put us together afterwards. And JC, what were you thinking, JC? I don't.
I think you're a great person. I mean, I'm gonna tell you what really caught my eye about you was the Gemmo when you were on with Gemmo and you were on with Bob Harris, and and they were in Chicago and they had some technical difficulties, and basically you and Bob Harris ended up hosting the show while Gemmo was out, and it was great. I was like, wow. And you guys actually held it down. I'm like, all right, I need to meet this person. I think the first time I kind of started talking to you, I mean, it was a little bit here and there on Twitter. And then we started kind of like really talking through Gemmo's show.
Yeah. Gemmo's show. And then we were in a draft together. We were in a draft. And I want to say it was the King, the King's Dethrone the King or something.
Yeah.
Because you had brought up that you were a military brat is what you called yourself, right? That you moved around a lot, your whole family was military, and that you never had a best friend. And I was like, what did this guy just say? So here I am, I'm typing away. I'm like, I am your new best friend. Your new best friend. I mean, I was like, there is no way this guy is not having a best friend. So that's how we actually had started to get closer. So
true. This is a true story.
It is.
So, Christina, what advice would you give women who are trying to get into the industry?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I mean, that is a really tough one. I also don't. I really like sexism too. Like, we kind of have to think about it, like overthink that. And I get so disconnected. Like I said, I'm about like stats when it comes to most fantasy stuff. So I'm almost like robotic when it comes to this. And I don't like to get people too seriously. Sometimes people get really emotional and it's like, this is fun. As long as you're having fun, like, that's the best part. I don't think whenever you're drafting and people say something not, it's like, no, it's chill. People have lives. Sometimes things happen. Take it with a grain of salt. Play well.
Because you never know who's gonna get sick, who's gonna get injured, who's gonna get something going on. It's something that you're betting. It's not like that this is gonna get you whatever at the end. So I've seen it, and like everyone was saying that Kelsey was gonna do wonders this year, and he didn't do anything. So everyone was in shock. And
Roger, I was personally excited to see his first play for the Jets, and he was out week 1, and a lot of people had him on their fantasy team.
Yeah,
he was on my Scott Fishbowl team.
That was JC's guy right there, man. JC was hyping him up all offseason, man.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's probably why he got hurt. I'm telling you. I was like, him and Garrett.
So it's all your fault.
Play number 1. Okay, it's done. There goes the whole season for the Jets.
Yeah, that was great.
Well, hey, Evan, I noticed that you do the fantasy baseball. You kind of do a lot of that. How does that work? I don't understand it. Do you have one team like you do the entire year, like you do in fantasy football?
So it's kind of similar to like Dynasty in fantasy football because we draft a roster. Okay, so I've been playing in this fantasy baseball league with my dad. We have a team together. It's pretty cool. It's something we can enjoy.
Oh, yeah,
he's a sports junkie. That's where I learned it. Like I grew up watching tapes of Celtics, Lakers, 80s games, like VHS status. My dad taped everything, right? So anyway, we do this together. It's been 19 seasons in the same league. We do National League only. So there's so many players in baseball Like, it's hard to do both leagues. So it's a National League team only. We draft 14 offensive guys, 9 pitchers. It's all auction based, $260. And once you have that team, the guys are actually on a contract, and each year you can keep them a following year. And after the second year, it's going to get real complicated here. You can extend them for 2 or 3 seasons. So basically you can have a guy up to 5 or 6 years, but if you extend them out, you pay a little bit more each year. So every time you keep those players, when you go into the next season, you might only need 9 guys total. You might need 14, right? It just depends on where you're at, how much you want to pay. And we do, 8 categories, 4 on offense, 4 on pitching. And all those guys play every single day. So the offense, I did a league with Coach this past season. All the offense counts all year long, and then the pitching, of course, counts when they pitch. So there's no substitutions other than, if a person gets hurt, you can't drop a player just because in the league we play in, you can't drop a player just because they suck. Like if they don't go to the minors or they don't get hurt, you have to ride with them all year. So I've had some guys some years where they don't go to the minors, they don't get hurt, and they just stink up your team. And it's really as close to like managing a real team as us fantasy junkies can really get, and it is a lot of work. I have much more success in the football realm because it's kind of short and sweet. Baseball is so long, but I thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, it's just intense. And the guys that we play with, they've actually had this league for like almost 50 years. It's like the second longest standing fantasy baseball league, like known.
I didn't even know they played fantasy baseball. All of a sudden, this is 50 years ago. What?
These guys used to hand write. My dad, even before this league when he was younger, but same as these guys, they hand wrote everything. I mean, they would get the newspaper the next day and go over the stats, hand write everything, update the standings. My dad has like file cabinets full of just stats.
Oh, that's so
and I'm
cool.
a stat person too. Like all these tools that are out there, like I love them, but I'm a stat person. I want to see the box score. I want to look at the map. I want to see all those stats, break it down myself, even though other people do that for you. I get a kick out of doing that. So, which is fun because you got to do that, when you're trying to get in depth, because as the National League in baseball it gets lower and lower, you got to really have a knowledge of some of these deeper players, younger players. It's a lot of fun.
That does not sound like a lot of fun.
It is for a sports junkie, Yeah.
Okay, I'm a sports junkie. As a matter of fact, I got my Cubs shirt on because they finally signed a pitcher. They signed a pitcher today. Jesus. I didn't know if it was going to happen or not. So I'm a Cubs fan, Evan.
I know. I've seen your cool shirts. I remember you got some cool gear. I see you order them. I like them. I love the shirts you got. I think they're sweet. I can appreciate a good logo regardless of, not regardless of any team, but most teams. I mean, you're not going to catch me wearing anything with the Dodgers on it. That's for damn sure.
Hey, have you been to SoFi Stadium out there?
I have. I actually just went for the first time a few weeks ago. I saw the Browns and the Rams play. And all I can say is the stadium is insane.
I want to go there so bad.
Hey, it was $125 to park. Parking was $125 per car.
Yikes.
Dude, I couldn't believe it. Like, my buddy bought the tickets. He's a Browns fan, so he wanted to go to the game. So me, him, and his girlfriend, we all went. I couldn't believe. I'm like, I'll get the parking, and I was like, damn, And so, I mean, it was, but the stadium's beautiful, and I mean, the game was just awesome. It's hard not to look at the Jumbotron. Like, you want to watch on the game, but the screen is like so big. Cool. You find yourself up top, just like, oh wait, the game's down here, like, and it was cool though, because sitting up top like that, I mean, beautiful. It's kind of like a dome, but like open, it's the afternoon. I mean, beautiful weather, like perfect for the game. And I can tell you this right now, Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua are really good at football.
Yes, they are.
watching those two guys live, they passed the eye test. And that was Flacco's, I think, first or second game. And he looked like he never lost a step. You could see him doing the play action. You could see, I mean, it was fun. I hadn't been to a football game in a while. I had season tickets to the Chargers for a long time when they had Rivers, LT, Gates, when they were the San Diego Chargers, right? So, yeah, SoFi is beautiful. I mean, it is well worth the experience. The place, I mean, every store around there, the different 2-story stores they have, TVs everywhere, gear everywhere, you know, bars everywhere.
Is it far from your home?
What's that?
Is it far from your home?
LA is like 2 hours from here. So I live in Oceanside. So I'm about like 40 miles north of San Diego. So it's about a 2-hour drive.
Okay. All right.
Iggy, I have a question for you. You and Christina. Especially that you have your family around you right now. I know that there's something that you want to share with everybody, and you want to spread awareness about Kawasaki disease, especially that your home. So what can you say about disease?
Did you hear that?
I'm
My
sorry.
kids are talking.
Our kiddos are being so loud over here.
I know that your family went through a lot with the Kawasaki disease, and you want to share about the Kawasaki disease. About that. Do you want to share about that first? So can you, Christina? It's up to you to share that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so Amaya was diagnosed with Kawasaki's disease when she was 10 months. And it's something that you can't catch until a child has the symptoms 5 to 7 days. And it's, extreme fever, a rash on the body, extremities become swollen, the hands and the feet. And if it's not caught soon enough, it can cause severe damage to the cardiovascular system. Some children do require heart transplants or on medication for their entire lives. Amaya, personally, her coronary artery was attacked and enlarged, but after a year of seeing a cardiologist and just waiting, it returned back to normal. Not all kids are as lucky. And so that's, why we've been trying to spread awareness with FF7s, because it's a rare disease. And it's often misdiagnosed. But yeah, so that's, luckily we got lucky, but we've heard of others not being so lucky.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing the awareness. And can you talk a little bit about that FF7? Because I came in a little late to the game, and it was you guys already drafted and this and that. But I'd like to get in it next year. So can you explain that a little bit, Iggy?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like I said, I've been playing fantasy football since 2010, and once this came about, I kind of wanted to spread awareness, and playing in the Scott Fish Bowl, it was pretty inspiring for me. And the thing about Kawasaki's disease, like the way to prevent it would be to just really be informative about it. Like if you catch it early enough, you really, it's much less likely to have severe problems. So I just figured awareness. That's something.
Education, be able to educate people. How much did you raise this year?
This year we raised a little over $1,300. We've made
That's great.
Yeah, our goal was to get a pamphlet or like a poster, because once you're aware of it, then you know to ask about it, and put it in every rural hospital in Colorado, which is 146, I believe. I've been talking to the Colorado Rural Health Commission. They gave us the addresses, so we got the pamphlet made. We're trying to get the best deal we can so that we can print more of them in the future. And that's going to be the goal for us. Next year, we're planning on it. The Fantasy Football 7's 5, working with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and doing the thing because they're a more high risk community. And where we live, there's like 5 or 6 nations of Native Americans around us, so it's like for me and my where I live and my geographical culture area, I see it everywhere, and the Navajo people were hit kind of the hardest as like a demographic in the United States with Kawasaki's disease. So that we're going to try to work on that next year and eventually try to get one in every rural hospital across the country, as ambitious as that might be. But starting where we live, and spreading out from there. And because, like I said, if you catch it, you pretty much have a much better chance of
right. Yeah. Just knowing that, because it's one of those things, like, I know I had heard of that disease before, but I didn't really know. So, with watching your story, that's been very educational for me. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. And that's our goal, using our photos.
And something to Iggy, because you said that you are trying to raise awareness first and raise money. So I want to I didn't talk yet to Bob Long, but we spoke about the Zumba part. And you saying that right now, I want to talk to Bob like every single year if we can connect to one a charity, said that we can collect money, at least like half of it, or maybe 30% of the revenue or whatever from Zumba, and we can give it to one of the charities.
Oh,
And
what a great idea, Carla.
Yeah, maybe this year it can be yours. Next year it can be for Scotfish. Next year it can be for cancer awareness or something like that. I think if we can start doing that, maybe we can spread awareness more, and we can, open people's eyes on a lot of pieces out there that they're not being, seen. And thank you for sharing your story with us. That's really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I didn't know anything about it before we experienced it. So, I'm sure there's several other people out there not as familiar with it. So.
Well, I can tell you that I am not going to do Zumba, okay? But I will definitely donate.
Fantasy football 7.
I cannot. I'm not a Zumba person, Carla. Look at me.
Listen, we will hold one and we will dance in the other.
Okay. So, real quick, Iggy, I know that you are in the King's Classic, right? You were in the King's Classic in the Dick Buckets division. Like, is that your spot forever until you decide not to go play it anymore? Or how does that work?
I think with the way Gary set it up, it could be. In other King's Classics, if you get last, you get demoted from like one league to another league, so you don't necessarily leave. So I think, as long as you're part of the community and willing to come out to Canton and hang out, you get to be part of the draft. So I just kind of lucked my way into it, man. Going to the Expo in 2022. There's definitely, you're up there with Gary Davenport, up there with Bob from the IDP guys. You got Nathan and Ricky as well over there. John, I can't think of
Leo.
John.
You got Leo.
Like a number 1 IDP ranker the past few years. Classic, and then John Norton, like he's been playing IDP since like 1995. It's just
Gary Davenport. He intimidated me so badly. I could not go talk to him. I was like so scared.
I kind of have a story with Gary because I found him intimidating through Twitter, and I think I found him intimidating when I got there. But we just had such a moment. And I wrote about it in my experience of going to Canton, the Treasures of Canton, which you can find on the Sports Affiliation. But I pull up to DoubleTree, and I never been to Ohio. Just drove all the way from the other side of the country, and I'm like trying to back up and figure out this parking here. And I back up, and I'm like, oh, I'm not parked correctly. So I pull up, and then I back incorrectly again. and Gary's like watching this all go down, and he's like just has that demeanor of kind of being cool, and he's like tall, and he's smoking a cigarette, and then I'm excited. I just want to get in there and figure out what I need to do and where I need to go and what's all going on. And Gary ended up putting change in my machine for me. And he was like, I didn't want you to get towed, man. He said, you're already parking illegally. But he's like, I saw you step out the car, long hair, couldn't park worth the crap. He's like, oh my guy. So I kind of love him again.
Oh, that's great. That is great. You know what? When I did tell him that later, I'm like, man, I was scared to talk to you. You're just, and he's like, you know what? I'm just Gary. Why would you be scared to talk to me? And that's kind of how it is in Canton. Everybody, it's just like there's nobody that's better than anyone else. They're just all there. So. I do have one question. I know Carla wants to get in, but I'm afraid I'm going to forget this question. When you do your betting, Iggy, when you're giving even the jailhouse bets or whatever, what does soup mean?
Oh, so then you
go 1 soup, 2 soups. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't understand. Is it $1? Is it $10? Is it?
So it's a
bet in the house
and betting. Like I would say I'd have clients or people that follow me, and they bet like $1,000 every time they bet, just about. Okay, but that's a lot of money. I don't bet that much. And there's other people that bet $10, $5, $2, and that's what they bet every time. So when you speak of a unit, it was just my creative way of saying a soup, because that's where it started, right? It is in jail, where I actually refined betting skills in my life, which is another long story. But you bet with soups, and that's the standard bet. Like you would say, I'll give you a soup for your tray, or I'll bet a soup that the Cowboys are going to win.
That's amazing. Who knew?
That's what it sure came from. So, yeah, that's the backstory.
So a soup is whatever you want to make it. So if you were like, hey, I'm going to bet $5 on this game, but if Iggy said 2 soups, I'm going to bet 10. Is that fair?
Exactly. That's exactly.
Okay. Thank you. Carla, it's all yours.
All mine. So this next question is for Evan. Evan, what's the biggest risk you've taken in your career, and how did it pay off?
The biggest risk?
Yes.
Man, the biggest risk, I would say, is probably just starting to put out any content in general. I've been a sports person all my life. Like I said, growing up, it was something I enjoyed to do. I wish I got started, putting out content sooner, right? But as much as you guys hear me talk or write or be involved, I can definitely be shy and insecure with the best of them. I don't mind, admitting that. I don't mind admitting my, mental health and those kind of things. It's a common thing amongst, a lot of people, and it should be discussed. So I may come across confident and bold, but I'm definitely not. I get plenty insecure about things I put out. But man, just getting on and meeting these guys and realizing that there was a place to put out that content. And, it doesn't matter what people think, what they agree with. Like, it's a platform to get to do it. And sometimes that's a struggle too. But, what's paid off is, I wouldn't be sitting here, on the Game Changers talking with all you lovely, wonderful people. I wouldn't know, JC and Iggy and Christina. I wouldn't have gotten to go through those stones, stepping stones to get to this spot. And I wouldn't have, some of the doors that are, starting to open and whatever future doors are going to open. Like, my passion and my dream is to do this in some type of professional manner. Does that mean it'll be, pay all the bills? Who knows? I don't care. I love doing it anyway. I sit there and look at box scores and write notes down. I spend my time doing that for free. So to be able to, generate, obviously, an income at some point for myself, for TSA, to build a network and a place for people to be able to come and be a voice, to come and write articles, to be on the website that, man, if you saw the website in the beginning, oh my God, that was terrible. But like, we had a website, like, it was cool as heck. Like, I've never thought I'd ever have a website. And now it actually looks professional. Like, shout out Christina and Iggy.
Yes.
It looks so good now, but like, if you saw it before, but like, humble beginnings. But man, to have a place where people can put their articles, where they can come and be on YouTube and have a show and a platform and have a space or whatever they want to do. Like, that's all I ever wanted, right? Was a chance to have that platform. And now I do. Now I get to be a part of creating it for other people. And that's how it's paid off so far. And maybe how it pays off in the end, I don't know. I just want to keep, having fun with these guys, bringing people together, meeting great people, going to the expo. I've never been to the expo either, so I have not met, these guys in person. Hopefully when I go, Iggy, Christina, and the whole gang will be there, right? And, I wouldn't have any of this without that, so.
We would love to
I know you have 4 kids. How do your kids are they supportive? How old are they, if you don't mind my asking?
So I have a 17-year-old son who's a senior in high school, SoCal Junior. That's what he's known as. He's started to get into fantasy leagues. He's in a couple leagues with JC and Iggy and I, and some other leagues of his own that he's done. He's next year for sure, Greg. And so he's 17. He's into fantasy. He's doing well at it. I have a 14-year-old daughter. She's a Charger fan, but she's not obviously like crazy into sports or anything yet. She's just a 14-year-old girl that likes to hang out with her friends and be on her games. And she's recently got into playing Fortnite with her 11-year-old brother. So that's what they spend most of their time doing. My 11-year-old son is Evan as well. My 14-year-old, so Jaden is SoCal Junior. Miley is my daughter. Evan, who goes by EJ, is 11. He's a Raider fan. I don't know how that happened.
Where'd he come from? Is he adopted?
His mom's family has plenty of Raider fans. And even though his mom and I are both Charger fans, he is a Raider fan. He loves Devontae Adams. He just started playing football. He plays defensive back. He wears number 17 for Devontae Adams. Hey, I don't even know if I really want Harbaugh, Greg, but yeah, that's a whole nother discussion. And then I got a little guy whose name is Wesley, who's 5. And he's definitely my best friend for sure. He's obsessed with me. I'm obsessed with him. He's obsessed with Pokemon. He's got, JC's got the box breaks going with cards, right? That's kind of one of the new things that we got going with TSA and, JC's new gig with Tyler. And my son is a Pokemon bonanza. He's got his folder. He's got them in the sheets. I'm trying to teach him like with the good cards to, put them in something right away, not to play with them. But he's 5. He goes to school and he'll trade probably a card that's worth money for like some card he thinks that looks cool. And I'm like, I'm like, all right, but he loves it. So he's into opening the cards and it's cool because I can show him the cards that JC sends me through the box breaks and kind of explain the sports part of it. So I'm hoping maybe he'll, get into cards or do something else. So they're supportive though. They all love me. I don't want to say more than they should, but they love their dad, and it's pretty cool because I, can share stories of times I haven't been there and some of my past and things like that. But, they're kids and they love their dad. And so.
Thank you for sharing that. Freaking awesome. Yeah. And you know what? I have cards. I do not collect. I don't even want to talk about. Me and JC had almost a little disagreement one day. Okay, but guess what? I won. Okay, so I don't collect cards, but I get in on the breaks just to support my team members, and I give the shit away. I don't want this stuff. So you know what? I've got a stack of stuff. If you will DM me your address, I'm gonna send it to your kid.
Boom.
Yeah. Okay. He's not getting the teeny Tyreek though. I'm keeping that Mo. That thing is staying in my house.
I have the teeny Justin Herbert, and he loves looking at the big head. And then actually earlier I was talking to him on the phone. He's with his mom, and he had a card and he was showing it to me, and he's like, "It's a Charger," and I'm like, "Who is it?" And he's looking at it, and he's like, "It's Joey Bosa," and I like it. And it's so cool to hear him at 5 years old, say the name. Yeah. I'm like, well, he might not be a Charger next year, but yes, that is Joey Bosa. So love it. Thank you, Wendi.
Yeah, I will. So make sure you send that to me. I wanted to go in. I always wait for the proper hands, and I've just found the proper hands. So, hey, and JC up there in the corner, don't think you're getting away with not talking like everybody else has had to talk today. So we saved the best for last, best friend.
Oh my.
Yeah. So you tell us how, it kind of sounded to me in your bio like you weren't even really a big football fan, especially growing up. Huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, I kind of grew up, I guess, a little bit different, I guess, than most people, I guess I would say, right? So I was a Navy brat. I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. I mean, I've lived all over the country, Washington, mostly near the water too. So Washington, that's why I got the Seattle stuff like that. And then obviously I got the Gamecock stuff here for, Charleston is where I'm from, and then I've lived in Maine. I've also lived out in Italy for a little bit when I was a kid. So I mean, really growing up, I didn't really have any teams that I followed or anything like that. I mean, when I so my family, my mom is from Minnesota, so anytime we would come out here for Christmas to visit my grandparents and stuff. Like I've been to a couple games, like we've been to games, Twins games, when the Metrodome was here, like that was one thing I loved going to. So like I was into sports a little bit here and there, but I mean, I really didn't grow up like going to events, because like I said, we didn't, South Carolina, there's no football there. Washington, I didn't, when I was that young, I really wasn't into that. I was just, young kid. And then I lived in Maine, there's no really sports there. Like I played hockey, as a kid, baseball, and I never really played football, right? I never played football, but, I really got into it when I lived it. So, later in life, I was in the military. So then I was stationed over in Japan, and, there's no really sports. The sports there is like basketball, baseball, soccer. That's, really what's there in Japan. But football, and it's a way different time, it's on, way early, way early in the morning. So the way we got to like kind of, have fun and, connect with the US was like football, right? So, a lot of us guys kind of got into it, and we started, we built like a military, football league, and that's, we would have so at work in the morning, we would have like the NFL draft on, like in the back office, and we'd have to like in between work, like run back there when our pick, when our teams were picking, and like it was just kind of interesting, and as time went on, we'd be, working and talking shit about fantasy football, like while we're at work. So it kind of got to be fun, and I really got into it and stuff like that. So, and then after you like win for the first time, you're like, all right, now this is really fun. When you first win your first championship, you're like, all right, now I'm hooked. Now I'm really hooked. Losing sucks, but when you win, you're like, all right, I need to keep winning. So, so when I got back to the States, I fell out a little bit, going to school here and there to be an electrician. I didn't really, I kind of got out of a little bit, but then, I kind of got back into it by, I guess I would say, listening to the fantasy footballers is kind of what really kind of got me back into listening to fantasy sports again. And my brother-in-law, he built like a fantasy league, a home league. And that's like the first like league I kind of got back into again. And that's, where I really got back into doing sports, and I got into doing content, through a guy that Iggy and I kind of work with, and that's kind of how I got into the industry a little bit, doing graphics. I went to school for graphics a little bit, and that's kind of how I got into, I was like, all right, I know how to do this stuff, so I'll get into doing that, and then that's kind of what I'm like. I kind of want to get in to kind of do, some broadcasting and doing some stuff like that, being live. I'm like, that kind of sounds like it would be kind of fun. So I was like, I did it a couple of times, and I was like, all right, this is real fun, like now I look forward to doing this. And, and it just kind of got into this whole thing. I mean, I watch a lot of football. I mean, a lot of people will say like, don't listen to people who have never played the sport. I would disagree, because, I'll tell you right now, I've played hockey, basketball, and baseball, and I can tell you a lot less than that about that stuff than I do about football. So, I mean, I think it's more about what you watch, what you pay attention to, the people you're around, the people you listen to. I mean, you consume content, and that's what I like to tell people too. Like, like especially when people are like, hey, who do I start? Who do I do this and that? It's like, all right, we'll go to a couple different people, right? Get their different, what they think about a player, stuff like that. Listen to what other people say. That's why there's so many different, content creators, right? Like everybody likes this, that, every different thing, but like, just get different like aspects and then make your own decision, right? Like that's what I got into it. I'm like, all right, well, this is what I like about this player, or this is what I see when I watch this player. Somebody else could see something different when they watch the player. So it's just fun and interesting. If you consume content from people that are around you, you learn things differently. You learn to see the game differently. Like that's why it's nice to have, Iggy and Evan in my life, because like they watch the sport differently than I do, right? So it's just fun. It's been a really fun adventure going from like, not doing anything to like, just like now we're building something crazy. And it's nice to have this platform, like getting people involved, like, Wendi and Carla, right? Like they weren't ever thinking about doing anything like this. And it's like, what? I mean, y'all have a lot to bring to the table, and I see it. And Greg saw it right away too. And it's like, boom, now, boom. And it's like, I think that's kind of what we're trying to develop our platform more into now, is like helping people get into the industry. If you want to get in, we've got this platform, we're willing to do that. We're willing to help people grow. We all have people that work with us, that, know different things, video editing, like building websites, we have people that know how to do betting, how to teach, like the ways of betting, we have people that know how to write, how to get into writing, there's so many different things that we have, and we have, the one thing that is really great about our community is having Greg. Greg is a great person and for the sports affiliation, man. And if anybody doesn't know who Greg Kellogg is, I highly recommend going out there and following him on Twitter if you can. I mean, he even is on Facebook, man. This is like the friendliest person I think I've ever met in my life. Super welcoming, to Iggy and I at the expo. Like he took us out to lunch. Like it was a great, experience. And I think that meeting him kind of helped us become more professional, in this industry and what our direction was. So I appreciate that, Greg. But go follow him. Like he is a, Hall of Famer when it comes to writing, in the fantasy industry. So make sure you go follow him. Shout out to Greg. But yeah. That's me.
Well, Greg is the one that put Carla and I together. Who wouldn't, we hadn't even met each other or anything, and neither one of us have done anything like this. I know I haven't. I'm not trying to speak for Carla, but I'm pretty sure she was new too. And the funniest part of this whole thing is when the fantasy season ended, and your regular season ended, I kind of reached out to Carla and I'm like, well, I guess this is it until I guess I'll see you next season and blah. And she's like, what the heck are you talking about? And I'm like, what? And she's like, we got something going here. We're part of this team and they want us here. And, there's so many people we can still talk to. It doesn't have to be, just about during football season. I'm like, you just want to keep going? Are you sure? And she's like, yes. So another big shout out to my partner there, Carla, and thank you, Greg.
Yeah, y'all have been crushing it. And the best thing about it is y'all are like very, good at, getting people to come on the show, keeping an audience continuously throughout the show, having comments come throughout the show. So this show is, like I said, I mean, this is like a cornerstone type of show. So I mean,
it's all about the community. It's all about the friends that Carla and I have made in the Women of Fantasy Football chat. I know they all hop on here. I had to turn my other computer off so I can't see, because I thought I had the feedback, so I can't see the comments that are coming through necessarily. But I know our girls are here, Carla. We support them. They support us. And they know how highly we speak of Sports Affiliation being a family to us. And and I did want to real quick, Iggy, if you could maybe talk, I know we're getting close to quitting time, everybody, but if you don't mind, could you kind of explain what the Thursday Checkdown show is going to be about? Because I think it's a really important show.
Yeah, so that, something we discussed at the expo again with Greg, having the platform. We started on Spaces, but it was like, we take a player in the week, we have a special guest in from Greg, and we break down the week before, we look at the week ahead. But right now we're in the off season, and it's kind of the history of fantasy football. We have quite a few guests lined up. We do have Emil coming in. If you're not aware, he started Football Diehards with Bob Harris. He's in charge of a lot of publications, and I think it's pretty safe to say without Emil, fantasy football wouldn't be where it is right now. Yep. He's going through pancreatic cancer, chemotherapy. So he's going to come up on the show. We're very thankful for him taking his time. Going to have a lot of people coming out to talk to him or say something to him. So if you want to come out and share something, please do it. But then throughout the off season, Greg's got guests coming in talking about the history of fantasy football, some stats. The guy from PFF last week? I forgot his name, but he basically invented yards per route run and these metrics that are standard talking cornerstone statistics that we used, and that's kind of a really neat insight we have having Greg on the TSA team, breaking it all down from the history. And even with fantasy football sevens, real quick, Wendi, the ring for the winner, it has the word wink on it because that was the first fantasy football commissioner associated with the then Oakland Raiders.
Cool.
us paying homage to him, because I have a deep respect for the history of football. I mean, I went, I've got my degree in basically history, anthropology. So I've always kind of been fascinated with history, with football history, and now even more specifically fantasy football history. And Greg's bringing us kind of the way to break it down and how we put it all together. And it's a great show to be a part of. Tip is a part of it as well. I produce it behind the scenes with JC, and it's going to be cool if you're into the history or just want an opportunity to talk to some of these legends in the industry. That opportunity is there for you.
Yep, it's pretty huge. And I know I did talk to Matt Donnelly today, and the tournament that he's running, the 100% proceeds going to Emil and his family. I'm in on it. I'm sure everybody here is probably in on it already, but they are taking entries all the way through Friday. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, if you're not following Matt or something, I'll get you in the right thing. And even if you don't want to play, there is a GoFundMe that is posted on Matt's page. And like you said, this is somebody that is really, really important to this industry. And that's what I'm learning. Okay, I didn't know all of these things. I'm sitting with Greg Kellogg behind me at the Fantasy Football Expo, talked to him for like an hour. I didn't know who Greg Kellogg was. I just knew I was talking to this dude, and and everybody's like, "Hey, do you know who that was?" And I'm like, "Yeah, his name's Greg. We follow each other." I'm just like, "Duh," And they're like, "Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame." And I'm like, "Oh, so I kind of need to learn these things." So I am learning a lot about the history. So. And this guy is going through a lot with his family, and this community, just really rallies around everyone, and I know that they're going to have a really good turnout. So everybody, make sure and join that. Reach out, like I said, Matt Donnelly is the one kind of heading that up, and I'll tell you, the one and done thing, it was one of my favorite formats, and I'm going to play more of that next year. I really, really like that Vipers League. Had a really good time. So. But gosh, everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. This has been so much fun. I mean, gosh, I missed everyone. We appreciate you all. Thank you for letting us, take up your time tonight. Christina, it's so good to see you and finally see your face. Thank you. You made me look good on the website. I love you. I love you.
I appreciate you, ladies. Thank you so much for having us. I appreciate you, JC, Evan. It's nice to finally see you guys too.
So who do we have next week, Carla? What we got going on?
Okay. I thought I was muted. So for next week, thank you, viewers, for first of all, and thank you for our loyal viewers for the show and for spending this hour with us. Wendi and I are so proud and honored to be with our family tonight and true game changers. You guys are awesome. And can you please remind everyone how they can find you? I'll start with Iggy.
Yeah, Affiliation.com is where you check out some of my writing, and then IDP_Iggy on X/Twitter.
And SoCal?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we got the website there. Of course, the YouTube that we're on right now, Sports Affiliation on YouTube. We make sure like, subscribe, and share. And then for me, I mean, at SoCal Ball Nerd on Twitter or X, whatever we're going to call it there. But yeah, at SoCal Ball Nerd, you'll find everything I got right there.
JC?
I know Iggy does some other places too. Iggy has like another place he does some betting stuff. I'm not sure. I think Evan does as well. Evan has a show that he also does on the Fantasy Football Advice Network for basketball. And then Iggy does, I know, some betting stuff, right, for
Fantasy Alarm. Howard Bender.
So make sure you
I
check those.
love Howard Bender. Love that guy.
Oh, Howard Bender's the best. So, I mean, make sure you check those spots out too. And then you can find me, I mean, at the Sports Affiliate, JC Money Design on Twitter. And then, we're doing some box breaks now, your Rockstar Rips. So check that out if you're into collecting. And Evan, I might, maybe this summer I might get into some, I mean, that's Pokemon is where I started, dude. When I was a kid, that's where I started. So maybe we might get into some. I talked about Star Wars, maybe even getting some of those cards because those are cool as heck.
Hey, there's some cool Pokemon ones, dude. He's got some cool cards. I'm like, man, I never got into it, even though it was like it's always been popular. But I'm like, man, some of these cards are rad. He's got these like black and yellow ones. He's like hieroglyphic, shiny. illuminated cards. I'm like, those got to be worth something, bro. You know, and I've looked up a few that we've opened, like in some of his, like, you know, big packs or like boxes I bought him for Christmas. Some of those are already worth like a few dollars. I'm like, man, I'm putting those in a, you know.
They're expensive. My son collects that too. They're really expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And Christina, you want to share where people can find you as well?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Christina. You know, I don't get on as much as I used to, but I tried. I basically just do it for that's all.
What are you doing with your time, Christina? I mean, my goodness.
Oh my God. Basically to hang out with TSA. That's what Twitter is used for.
So thank you again for the Sports Affiliation for giving us such a wonderful platform to speak our truth and be real when in what we offer and do. Join us next Tuesday, January 16 at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time with our guest John Ryan, the Productive Playbook Sports Channel. You don't want to miss this episode, as he has so much under his belt that he wants to share with us next week. Good night, everyone. Stay healthy, and we cannot wait to see all of you next week for new episode of the Game Changers. Thank you so much for being with us. Bye.
Bye, family.
Bye.
Bye, fam. Bye, kids.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, kids.
Peace.
Later.